What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 24 of the Channel 8 podcast. I'm your host, Sean Go, and in today's episode, it's going to be a solo episode, so it's going to be just me today. But I want to share with you guys some of my thoughts surrounding a couple things that have been happening in the sneaker community. First off, though, talking about what I've worn this week. So I started off the week wearing the Kobe 5 Pro Tros in the Bruce Lee colorway, and then I brought out my Wave Runner Yeezy Boost 700s, and then I wore the Adidas ZX 9000 in the Hydro colorway. And then today, the day that I'm recording this, I wore the Stussy Air Force One Low in the Fossil Stone colorway. So that's been my week in terms of what I've worn. In terms of sneaker pickups, so I hit on a random restock on the, what's the official name here? So it's the Nike Dunk High collaboration with Undercover in that gym red and black colorway. So they popped up randomly on, I'm going to butcher the name of this store, Très Bien. I should probably say this better because I did learn French for quite a few years. But anyways, they had a random restock, so I hit on that. I also picked up a pair of the Air Jordan 1s in the Pollen colorway, so shout out goes out to the Closet Inc. I was also sent a pair of shoes from No Two Ways. So they're a London-based independent sneaker brand, and they're actually a passion project by YouTuber Calix. So they sent me over a pair of the Aero Silhouette. So I also posted a review on that as well on the channel. Aside from that, I got a pair of the Nike Blazers in the Move to Zero colorway. It kind of looks like an off-white blazer, so I was very curious to see those in hand. I haven't got them yet, but I ordered them on Nike.ca. I got a pair of the Air Jordan 1 Seafoams. Those are a beautiful, beautiful shoe, so I'm working on the review on that as we speak. And then Adidas sent me a pair of the 4D Forwards in the black and green colorway, so big shout out to Adidas Canada. And the last pickup, not to be outdone by anything else, I actually managed to do the impossible, and I scored a pair of the Air Jordan 1 Low Fragment Travis Scotts. And this was through Nike Canada sneakers website, which I haven't hit on anything in probably like a year and a half or something, but I figured this is a pretty big release. Why not try? And yeah, so I actually scored on them. So hopefully those ship. I don't actually have them in hand yet, obviously. But yeah, fingers crossed they get sent to me. So for today's main topic of discussion, this is purely just verbal diarrhea. I have nothing written down. I don't have any notes. So this is strictly coming from the top of my head. So there's been a lot of talk about two different and two distinct things. But at the end of the day, they kind of go back to that same core issue, which is super limited supply, which results in people picking up either fakes or reps or whatever you want to call it. And on the other hand of the spectrum, we have the issue of customs and people creating their very own brands with silhouettes that, let's just say, oftentimes looks a lot like already established silhouettes from the big brands. So I've mentioned this before in the past, but honestly, comparing how things were when I first started collecting sneakers probably 15 years ago to now, it's so different in so many ways. I don't know if it's because there's like an actual, well, I'm sure to some degree there's been an actual shift and change in the culture, but maybe it's because of social media. Maybe it's because I'm just more aware of how things are today, but there's definitely a noticeable difference. Obviously, reselling was still a thing back in the day because I would buy pairs from eBay, for example. And don't get me wrong, there was such things as lineups and camping out already back then. But I think in today's day and age, the number of people that are in it for the money and trying to resell, they actually outnumber the people with a genuine passion for sneakers and people that legitimately want them either to wear or just to collect. And I think it's never been tougher than it is now in many ways to actually buy shoes for retail than it has been in my 15 years of buying sneakers. Like back in the day, it was fairly straightforward. If you wanted a shoe, you went to the store, maybe a few hours before the store was opening, or in some extreme cases, you'd line up like the day before. But it was fairly straightforward. You lined up, you knew your place in line, so you can kind of gauge whether or not you'd be able to grab your pair, and that was pretty much it. And then with things moving online, and then with social media, and just the continuous growth of this culture, it's just become a whole different beast. And sometimes it's kind of tiring, to be honest with you. Like every week, these brands are throwing out release after release. And I know at the end of the day, we kind of have to blame ourselves because we're the ones getting suckered in. Because technically, we could just say no thanks and just walk away. But the fact that every week it's just repetitive. We have this Jordan 1 coming out, this Dunk coming out, and then you got to keep track of all the raffles. And then now with COVID knock on wood, slowing down a bit, stores are opening up again and they're doing in-store raffles. So you got to go through all those different stores, pick up your raffle card, things like that. And then for the stores that are doing first come, first serve online, a lot of the times the stock just flies within seconds and it's just sold out right away. And it's not like all these shoes that are being sold are being, worn by the people and you're going to see them on the streets and stuff like that. What you see is they're just being flipped online immediately. So that's why when I consider a shoe that I'm buying, I usually don't even consider what the retail price is. I just consider what the potential resale price will be, because oftentimes that's what I'm ponying up to buy the shoe for my reviews. But anyways, I'm rambling here. So long story short, it's just tiring going through this dance week after week after week. And so yeah, that leads us to these two separate but similar things, which is people tired of taking L's, people tired of the ridiculous resale prices that people are charging. So two of the different avenues that people head towards are either A, we have the reps or the fakes, or B, which is the customs, which oftentimes are similar in many ways to the silhouettes that people want, like Dunks, Air Force Ones, Air Jordan Ones. But of course, they're made by independent brands, independent artists. And more often than not, these customs are just more attainable than your typical Air Jordan 1, for example. So I'll be honest with you guys, I used to be in the camp that was firmly against fakes or reps. Back in the day, the fakes were so bad. You'd see like SpongeBob Air Jordans, or just like the ugliest colorways, clear toe Air Jordan 11s or whatever. And I will definitely admit, like, I felt like I was so above fakes. But I think in the past couple of years, I've really learned to understand why people do that. And that's especially true in today's day and age. So, I mean, you have something like a Travis Scott Fragment Air Jordan 1, which immediately after release, it's going for 5,000 Canadian dollars, which is a ridiculous amount of money, which the majority of people just can't afford. And it would be honestly reckless for you to buy that. And the thing is, a lot of these fakes or reps, they honestly are scarily close to the authentic shoe. And sometimes the quality is even better. So, back in the day, I would be laughing at people who would spend their money on fakes and looking down on them like I was someone better. But now that you think about it, who at the end of the day is really laughing? The person that's dropping $5,000 on an authentic Fragment Travis Scott 1, or the person that's buying the rep that's 99% as close to the authentic and paying $150, $200? You could totally argue that the person buying the authentic pair for resale prices is the bigger fool. So don't get me wrong, like, I don't think I would ever get to the point where I would feel comfortable rocking a fake or rep shoe. But I just think at this point in time, I can understand why people do that. And I don't hate on people that do that. Like, until Nike and Jordan Brand and all these other big brands start producing more quantities and finding more solutions to this problem, whether that's in the form of just giving us more stock or pre-order system or something like that, I think that by all means, if you feel comfortable wearing a rep, then you do you. Like the public, myself, who are we to judge on what you're wearing, right? Worry about what's on your feet. I'm going to worry about what's on my feet, and the world can just be a happier place that way. On a side note, yesterday or a couple days ago, a Shoe Palace employee got shot by some 16-year-old kid during like a altercation surrounding raffle tickets for like a Nike Dunk Low, which is absolutely insane. The fact that people are just shooting up each other, killing each other over sneakers. I know this has been an issue since like the 90s, but it's just a terrible thing to hear. There's got to be a way that the community and the culture can do better. And I think the fact that sneakers are just over commoditized and there's so much money on the line surrounding sneakers is why we're seeing issues like this. But anyways, back to the second thing I want to talk about, which was customs or brands that create silhouettes that look like existing silhouettes. This part of The culture, I actually don't really have any beef with. Again, like it's your personal discretion on if you want to rock something that looks like a dunk, but it's not. If you want to rock something that looks like an Air Jordan 1, but it's not. And I think it really depends on the authenticity of that creator and that brand and the type of work and the type of products that they're delivering to us. You know, with all things, there's always levels. There's some brands that loosely adopt existing silhouettes, whereas there's other brands that literally just replace the swoosh and slap on something else. And sometimes these independent brands give us exceptional quality. So in my mind, I'm thinking, why am I paying $150 Canadian retail for a Nike Dunk made out of plastic leather when I can pay $200, $250 for something from an independent creator whose brand creates like very high quality products and it just happens to look like a dunk. So to me, like I really have no issues with this. If there's a lot of people that are fans of your product, then more power to you. Again, this goes back to the whole limited nature of Nike's releases. And I don't want to single out Nike specifically, but we all know that's where the heart of the problem lies. Like if the average person isn't able to hit on a single dunk the entire year and they like the aesthetic of the dunk, then totally go support some other creator that sells products that look similar to a dunk, but it's not. Like it's a fine line for Nike managing that hype, sustaining that level of hype, but at the same time, they're kind of losing out on potential market share where these independent brands and customizers are swooping in and snatching up frustrated potential customers that have just been fed up with Nike over the past few years. So really, at the end of the day, you know, there's no right or wrong. Everyone has an opinion about this, and all I wanted to say at the end of the day is just you do you. I don't really want to judge someone who decides to buy and rock one thing over the other. I know what I like. I know what I like to wear. There's certain silhouettes that don't work with me, and there's certain silhouettes that I love, and that goes with fashion too. Because occasionally I'll get the comment on my YouTube video for people criticizing my pants. Like this is kind of like a running joke on Instagram. If you guys follow me, you've probably seen this, but I'll throw on a pair of joggers on my on-feet video and then I'll get a comment saying, yo, joggers are dead, bro. Straight leg is in, blah, 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 blah. And then in the next video, the next day, I'll post up a video with me rocking straight cut pants. And then people will be like, why are you wearing such baggy pants? You can't see the shoes. Wear joggers. So there's no winning. Dress for yourself. Wear what you want for yourself. I don't want to get into the whole ethical side about rocking fakes because I don't know too much about, you know, if you're supporting illegal business or all that stuff. Like that's a whole different discussion. But at the end of the day, from an aesthetic standpoint, and I guess you can say from a financial reasonability standpoint, not dropping $5,000 on a Travis fragment, you can do whatever you want to do and whatever suits you. So that's pretty much all I got to say in this long-winded rant. I probably should have written down some notes instead of just talking off the top of my head. But yeah, this is how I'm spending my Friday night. So yeah, let me know. Leave a comment. I'm very curious to know your thoughts about your stance on rocking and supporting fakes and reps, and also rocking and supporting brands that customize shoes, and also those brands that imitate existing silhouettes from the big brands. So if you guys enjoyed this podcast, be sure to leave a review if possible. It's hosted on most of your major podcast platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. You can check me out on Instagram at esco8. I'm also on YouTube at youtube.com/SeanGo and on Twitter at Sean.go spelled out. So thank you everyone for listening to me rant for, what was it, like 15, 20 minutes, probably more. Hopefully I didn't bore you to death. And as always, thank you for the continued love and support. So that wraps things up, and I'll catch you guys all in the next episode.